wonderful and talented Amanda Valentine.
Hello.
Thank you so much today for sharing your journey and your passion with us, and we're all excited to hear about everything. So first things first, let's just start off with who you are and what you do.
I'm Amanda, you heard it. And I am a wardrobe stylist and a fashion designer. So my kind of tagline is I make clothes and I dress people in clothes. So it's just clothes.
When did you first decide, or let's just say, when did you first get inspired and know that you wanted to be a fashion designer / stylist?
Always thought it was when I was like 9 or 10. My mom made our clothes growing up. I grew up in a really big family. So we would go to like the fabric store and we would pick out our fabric. And finally one time I was like, well, I want to try and sew it. Like, you know, so I always thought it started about then when I said, well, let me try. Like, I would pick out all the details and I was like, well, maybe I could put it together. Now I just like to dress up other people more than dressing up myself, but you know.
And growing up, you grew up in what area of the United States?
Midwest. It was really easy to stand out, I guess, when I discovered fashion magazines and discovered New York City and Paris and stuff. That was so exotic to me.
Would you say your inspiration comes from probably your childhood or your mother?
My mom's like the most beautiful woman in the world. She was a beauty queen and a model, and she would just always look like $1,000,000. She always looked so sharp. And she really taught me how to like go into a thrift store. My dad too is, to this day, my dad and I still go thrifting together. My 78-year-old father.
As far as your education part goes, did you attend any schools for design or fashion?
I went to the University of Nebraska because it was an in-state school and it was affordable. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, I wish I could have gone to a fancy design school. It's like, you don't have to, if you can't go to a fancy design school, it's fine, you know?
Because the talent is right here.
I'm just saying.
Right. Right.
I did a job with a really small, like Christian rock band. It wasn't a very big job, but it was a really, really creative opportunity. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. I have a really good feeling about these guys. But their manager came to me and said, hey, I've got this new band. I really think they're going to go somewhere, but I want someone to start with them right from the beginning and really, you know. And that ended up being 21 Pilots. This is before they were famous at all. And it reminded me that like, no matter how big or small the job, like you have to perform as if it's the biggest job.
How long have you been a stylist and fashion designer for?
Probably 25 years really, but making money on it, probably only about 15. And I started wardrobe styling right out of college. I moved to New York and just started apprenticing like whoever would have me.
Through your career, what do you think has been one of the most incredible highlights of your career?
Being on Project Runway with you.
Thanks. I feel the same way.
One of the artists I styled, 21 Pilots, they won their very first Grammy, and like they went up and gave this speech and they like dropped their pants on stage and it became this big funny thing. And that was such a big moment for me because these artists that I'd seen from when they were just a teeny tiny band trying to make it to like on the Grammy stage in what I dressed them in and being goofy, right. And, you know.
Do you have anything in the future right now you're working on?
We're all trying to like reinvent or just adapt to like what's going on in the world. And I just worked on a commercial this weekend and luckily like stuff's starting to pick up, work's starting to pick up again. I'm kind of excited to pivot back to being a fashion designer. There's so many different things. I'm kind of taking this time to figure out what's next.
When you look back on your journey so far, what advice do you think you would give to somebody that's following their passion?
Is that you've got to figure out like what your specific voice is. You know, the greatest compliment you can have as an artist is for someone to hear your music or see your music and be like, oh, that must be by them.
Who are some of your idols or people you think are your inspirations?
I'm super, super influenced by music. And then my favorite designer of all time is Yves Saint Laurent. He just created such wearable clothing. And I just really appreciate that.
In your opinion, where do you think fashion's going today?
I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited because people care more about the little guy right now, which is,
Oh, absolutely.
for me, is thrilling. The way that we operate, like the bigger companies are saying, oh, that's actually really sustainable and really eco-friendly.
And you're located where?
So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, I've been here for like 15 years and it's really great.
But that's really good for you out there because it's country music like headquarters, right?
Yeah. And most of my clients are country artists, but I always get the clients that are like the country artists that want to look like rock artists.
Have you got to style your brother?
So my brother's the guitar player for Maroon 5. Just a little rock and roll band. Someday they'll make money. Just kidding.
Have you got to style him or with his
No,
band?
it's my very first job ever. I assisted his stylist for their very first music video ever.
How did it feel for you when you showed for the finale for Lincoln Center?
Oh my gosh. There was this part between backstage and getting to the front where I was like all alone, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to remember this feeling for the rest of my life. I'm going to enjoy this no matter what happens. Like, I can't believe I got here, you know?
With everything going on in the world today, what is something that you can share with somebody that is either inspiring or inspirational or that can, help them out in their careers?
And this is a lesson my parents taught me, my mom taught me this. Just do one act of service, like research a couple organizations and, even donate $10, like just something. I think to get out of your head and realize there are people that have a lot worse time than you do. It just helps me.
Oh my God, it was such a pleasure having this conversation with you today and catching up and seeing you and inspiring people to follow their passions and their dreams. I wish you the best and let's stay in touch. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you and best of luck with everything.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.